for today, which is February 26th. And it is about 9:34 a.m. If I could get the roll call, please.
Sure. Markham?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Smiley is absent with notice. Johnson is remote. Wipert?
Here.
Smith Charles?
Present.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Wipert to lead us in the pledge, please?
Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Takes us to item 4 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Those minutes are dated February the 5th.
I'll move them.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Markham, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Any thoughts, discussions, of additions or subtractions to the minutes? Seeing no indications of such, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote to accept the minutes from the February 5th meeting.
You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next is to approve the agenda. Give it a once over. Looks like Commissioner Miller moved to approve the agenda, supported by Commissioner Taylor, I believe I saw. Any discussions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries. Takes us to item 6 on the agenda, which is public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to address this body? It should be relevant or related only to items on the agenda. Give you a second to figure you're speaking. Commissioner Johnson, here are your keys. Your tippy taps.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Luckily, you didn't say anything bad about us.
I know. Well, I do not see anyone coming up for public comment, so I'll go ahead and close that public comment opportunity. Next is item 7, which is communications. We have 2. Item A is SMART July through September 2024 quarterly report, and B is Veterans This Rise on Us program report. I take a motion to receive and file. Moved by Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Wipert. And if you haven't got a chance to already, or if you have any questions or anything like that, please do contact the appropriate lead on that. I should have my notes in front of me, but I don't. Is there anything interesting or unique?
Eli's here.
Oh, hey, Eli. Great. And this is Eli. Are you able to say just a couple words about the veterans portion of the This Rise on Us? Oh, and SMART.
Sure, I could, and I'll focus on a couple of words. I already used a couple, so I'm out. So, want to just inform the committee that when we look at this schedule, it's a quarterly report through September of last year, and that's because there's been some issues with getting the information, and not from SMART standpoint, but the timing of it related to our calendar. So as a matter of fact, that was my email yesterday. We just got the next quarterly report, so we'll be back again with more current information soon. The key data point is there are 1.86 million rides in the quarter, which is up about 4%. So ridership's growing. In the body of the report, there's a lot of charts and figures and information. If the committee has any questions on any of that, I'd be happy to respond to that, but I don't want to spend too much of your time going through information you already have.
Okay.
With regard to the This Rise on Us program, again, this was a new program that we piloted last summer, and we've been tracking it both through Veteran Services and the Transit Division. last report, which is in your packet, 4,600 rides. There were a series of questions that have been framed or posed by commissioners. I want to know, okay, how much is it costing? So the 4,600 rides at $2 a ride is around $10,000. The other question that came up was, what is the cost of delivering the service, not the fare that's being charged? So we did look at the average cost for the trip for the types of providers that are providing the service. And it's $270,000 is the actual value of the entire ride, meaning the vehicle, the gas, the driver, et cetera, et cetera. But from the standpoint of the county's agreement with the state, the subsidy for the riders is for the fare portion, and that's a small fraction of it. Again, there is information in your packet about which providers are carrying how many riders. And if any of you have questions, and that's me trying to keep it to a few words, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Eli. Any questions? Just double checking here.
Oh, I didn't
Commissioner Markham?
push the button, but yes, thank you. So this $268,000 difference, what the actual cost of service is compared to what the fares and all that is, that's covered by the millage?
So it's, it varies by, the answer is primarily the millage, but the operators all have other revenue streams. So they collect fares, they're receiving other grants from the state. So that's the full cost. It's not 100% millage though. It's probably about 70–80%. Again, each one has an independent budget with different funding streams.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? Seeing no other hands raised, we can go ahead and double check. Yeah, we can go ahead and prompt the vote for receive and file 7A, 7B.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion carries. Item 8 on the agenda is Water Resource Commissioner recommendations. We have one item, which is A, establishment of normal lake level for Clarkston Mill Pond. I'll take a motion to recommend to the board.
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Markham, supported by Commissioner Miller. Alrighty, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Ryan Pawashik with IWRC. I'm the lake level engineer. As we've got some new members on the board, figured I'd introduce myself. I'm in charge of all of the lake levels that WRC manages on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. So what you have in front of you is a recommendation based on petition from residents to establish a legal lake level on Clarkston Mill Pond. We've already actually been working with them and completed the study through a state grant over the last 2 years. So this one should move pretty quickly into court as we have everything we would need post this. We would normally do a study. So the residents are in favor. They're more than 70% in favor of moving forward the legal lake level to deal with issues they're having with water levels and the current owner out there. With that, I'll open up to any questions you guys may have.
Thank you. Start with Commissioner Wiper, followed by Commissioner Markham.
This is a petition to establish it. Was there one before?
No.
This one never?
Most lakes don't have an established legal lake level. So we only have our 43 now with Vay, so it'll be 44 with this one, that have legal lake levels, and there's over 200 dams in the county. So about half of those under private ownership. This one is one of the ones that is under private ownership. So there's a kind of a dual benefit. Bringing it to the public means we're going to be able to better maintain it and also keep these residents happy.
And when it gets established, does the private owner have to comply? Is that?
So we'll go through the process of taking ownership of those various parcels. So we've already been in conversations where I'm intending to construct a new dam. I will own that parcel. And then once we go through court, we're going to look at entering into an agreement to operate the current one until we construct our new one as part of this one specifically.
It's all budgeted?
So it's all special assessment based. So they're 100% special assessed back to the residents. The residents are aware of what the costs are going to be on this new construction, what our annual maintenance is going to be. That was part of the reason we did the study first and assisted them with the state grant was to provide them with a very complete picture on this one. So
Does the owner of the private dam voluntarily relinquish? I mean, is it $1?
the intent, yes, is $1. He is a developer, so we're gonna see how exactly that's gonna look, but I think that he's gonna, at this point, the intent is $1. I don't, if it's gonna be more, those residents are gonna be paying for it, so he's gonna be getting that backlash.
It's a cooperative process.
It's a cooperative process to get there, yeah, and we've been a very good mediator. They've had issues for years up there between the residents and the current owner. So most of the residents don't talk. When we see them at meetings, they are very negative toward that current owner. And us being a third party, we're not the community, we're coming in saying, hey, we'll take ownership and here's the process you need to go through.
Thank you. Commissioner Markham?
Okay, thank you. You touched on what I was gonna ask about, which is, could you talk about the process? How did we decide this lake needed something different? You know, did the people come to us? And then what is the process that we went through? Don't take 2 hours, but just kind of lay it out. How does this happen?
So we say, hey, this is an option to folks if they come to us with an issue, and that's it. So we don't force this issue. They're the ones that have to petition. So the process typically goes, the residents petition, you need 2/3 to petition. It comes to the Board of Commissioners. You guys say, yep, let's move forward with it. We have received a petition that meets the requirement of 2/3. And then normally we would do a study based on a deposit that they would give and then take it to court, establish it, and it would go into our jurisdiction. That's the very bare bones of how this process works. So typically it's an issue that comes to us and people say, what can we do? It'll normally come to me and I'll say, this is the only option I have available to you. If you want to pursue it, I'll provide you some information on the law, and then they'll take it from there. They'll do all the petition, we'll provide them with an outline, and that's where our part stops until we actually get a petition itself. In the case of this study, they have an established lake improvement board, so we acted through that lake improvement board to complete that study. And since it was for a lake level, I assisted in that process to make sure we had everything we needed, so we're not going back and spending more money to update this study.
And to clarify, you said we have 44 lakes that we manage the lake levels on?
So we have 44 lake levels that manage 54 lakes.
Gotcha.
So there's some that
Connected
are,
lakes.
yeah, they're connected lakes, they're managed by the same dam.
Okay. I guess that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Slightly germane to this, I'm just recollecting when we took our little kayaking experience last summer with the parks. Somewhere adjacent to Springfield Oaks, there were these little, I call them tributaries. I'm not a water speaker person. But I was so surprised to see that each parcel, each property they look like pumps where they're either putting stuff into the water or they're pulling the water out to say watering their grass or something. I was really taken aback, especially because I don't live by any lakes that I can do the same with. So I'm just curious, is that something that you are involved in? Do those people have special permitting rights to pull water from the little lakes?
So they have riparian rights which allow them to do that. There's no permit required unless they're withdrawing mass amounts of water. So even a golf course that's drawing fairly substantial amounts does not require any special permit, as that parcel has the rights to that water.
Right
So-
to the center.
Yeah, well, just as long as their parcel's touching the water, they have the rights to it, and water withdrawal is one of those rights that folks have. Typically, those pumps are they're just watering their lawn, and they account for less than 10% of the water loss that we would typically see in a season. So they're nominal in terms of their actual water usage, and their effect on the actual ecosystem. Most of it disappears via just evaporation.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Anything else? We can then call,
Johnson.
Commissioner, virtual guy.
Hi, sorry, I raised my hand in the civic clerk, but
Thank you, I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I'm trying. Just two quick questions. I think that they're quick, and I'm sorry for my clicking. I don't know, you all probably know my thoughts on this as much as you know my thoughts about parking lots. And so just first question real quickly, like what are the ecological considerations for establishing a lake level for this real quick?
None. There's an existing dam already that exists there, so you're gonna have ecological considerations in the other direction should we not continue with this and they remove the dam. There is actually a lot of heavy metals built up in the sediment there that would end up being exposed. Loss of wetlands, loss of habitat should we not move forward. This dam owner is willing to pursue the removal of the structure, leading to negative impacts in the other direction.
I'm sorry, why negative impacts in it? What is the other direction? Status quo?
Still, there wouldn't be status quo, there'd be removal of the dam and returning to stream at that point, but that stream is heavily contaminated. So there's heavy metals, there's a lot of issues in the stream upstream that the lake essentially contains. So should you expose it, you start leading to that stuff escaping from where it's at.
Oh, all right, wait, that's a whole different question then, because this is I was looking at it and like that's a massive stream lake system that covers a large swath of the western half of our county. Are you saying that there's heavy metal exposure in all of those residential lakes?
No, just specifically in this one. I can't speak to the rest of them, but they've tested their sediment because they've attempted to dredge here in the past, and they had fairly high concentrations of heavy metal in this sediment specifically. I can't speak to further upstream or where necessarily the contamination comes from, but it is there. And so with removal of the dam, which is the other option, you end up exposing all of that. You have loss of home value, you have loss of habitat because there is some great wetlands that are in the upper reaches of the second smaller portion of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
All of that would disappear.
But those are artificial to begin with. It is a stream ecosystem that humans came in, put up a dam, and forced the creation of artificial wetlands for the sake of increasing home values for property or for private property owners, correct?
The intent of this one specifically was actually put up by Henry Ford for power generation during the end of World War II.
Does it still generate electricity?
It does not still generate electricity, no.
Okay, would like to consider that in the future. Second and related, I understand that the special assessment district pays for the management of this district or of this lake level and of the reconstruction of the dam. Just curious, how many general county dollars have gone into this project, including time and labor for any staff involved, general fund?
Less than 10 hours of my time have gone toward the Lake Improvement Board portion of it.
Okay, and again, a reminder for all of my colleagues, this is for the preservation of property values for private property owners who are not the entire county. Thank you. I don't have any lakes in my district, so I get a little bit feisty about this.
Well, I too have no lakes in my district, and I echo your feisty. I was wondering, Ryan, it'd be easy if you are able to see the map behind you.
Yes.
Just for clarity, there are little black dashed lines that the legend doesn't speak to, and I'm just curious, what are those? What is that showing us?
Black dashed lines.
Kind of like one goes right through the lake in the middle. I can,
You see them?
Yeah.
This right here.
Oh, it's
yeah,
just
those types of
It's like a
things.
township line.
They're all like throughout the map.
Eighth marker and
Yeah, I believe that's a township line. I think we're
Yeah.
crossing over from the Clarkston into Independence Township.
Oh, okay.
So the lake is in both Clarkston and Independence Township for this one.
Okay, got it. And then there's some overlap, it looks like, with assessment district parcels and boundaries. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure I understood. Okay, Commissioner Johnson, you all set? And any other questions? Just looking at my list here. Looks like we're all good to prompt the vote on item 8A. DJ.
Are we voting still?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Keep up the good work. Next up is item 9A, which is economic development, under the Economic Development Department recommendations. I'll take a motion to recommend to the board Economic Development 2025 North Oakland County Household Hazardous Waste Interlocal Agreement. Moved by Commissioner Whiteford, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Good morning. I see Kristen has joined us and Whitney Calio, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good morning to the both of you. Wonderful to see you. So tell us what we've got going on with this interlocal agreement.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I'm
Good
Kristen Wilting with Oakland County in the Planning Division, and with me today I have Wendy Callio, a principal planner who oversees our Green Schools program, our Materials Management program, and also the NOHAZ Household Hazardous Waste Collection events. And before you today, we have the interlocal agreements for the NOHAZ program. And we just have a couple slides to share with you this morning. And again, just to show you the breakdown in the planning office, we have 4 main areas that we provide services to our local cities, villages, and townships. Land use and zoning is one of them. We have our downtown redevelopment or our Main Street program. We have historic preservation. We provide assistance. And then we also have our environmental stewardship group, which is our trails, transportation, and environment. And that's where Whitney and Brad Hansen and I, we're all under the upper right-hand group within the planning division. So I'll turn it over to Whitney to give you a brief overview of the NOHAZ program, because there's typically some questions from year to year, so we just wanna provide
Thank you.
with an update.
So good morning and thank you for having us today. So NOHAZ, many of you probably know because we've been doing this for quite some time, is a consortium of communities primarily in the central and northern portion of the county that have come together to provide household hazardous waste services for their residents. We facilitate the program, and as always, the communities actually pay for the program, so we're just the facilitator of the program for the communities. It began in 2003, so again, we've been working on this for quite some time. So you can see since the inception of the program, we've collected almost 9.7 million pounds of household hazardous waste, so I'm assuming 2025, we're gonna hit the 10 million mark, so that'll be a good milestone. So just kind of giving a recap of last year, we held 4 collection events. We had 3,733 residents participate during those 4 events. Collected just over 500,000 pounds of materials. And 31% of our attendees indicated they were using NOHAZ for the first time, which is pretty consistent year to year and always surprises us that after doing it so long that many people are still new to the program. So we're good about that. Here's a picture of one of our events, and you can see there's a lot of stuff that comes in. Some of it's very sorted, some of it is not, so there's a lot that goes into sorting it out into the correct categories. This is a breakdown of what what materials we collected last year. So you can see electronic equipment is the highest volume in pounds, which isn't surprising, seeing that it's heavy stuff for the most part. But then again, this is continuous year to year latex paint. People in this county have a lot of latex paint to dispose of. So by far, those are our 2 biggest categories, followed by oil, toxic products. But just a rundown of all the different types of materials that were collected throughout the 4 events. So moving on to this year, we will have 17 communities participating. So there are 13 interlocal agreements and then the 4 villages that fall within those township boundaries. We're planning 4 collection events. We move these around as much as we can within those member communities to make it most convenient as we can for residents. We do require really large sites to make this happen with 1,000 cars coming through each event-ish. So we're April 12th, we'll be out at Pine Knob Music Theater. We were there 2 years ago and that was a great location. And last year, because of some maintenance on their parking lots, we weren't able to be out there, but we're happy to be back there again this year. Oxford Middle School, we use that one each year, Kensington Church in Orion, and then one at the county campus. So, again, we try to move them around as well as we can within those member communities. This is a map for this year, to the best of our knowledge anyway, of the different types of household hazardous waste programs that are offered in the county. The yellow and the red at the bottom are Rossack and Sacra communities, which those are solid waste authorities that service a lot of those communities. The blue are communities that provide their own collection. A few of them work together, and then some of them just do their own program. It's maybe in conjunction through their waste hauler contract, they offer a one-day collection. We do invite any communities that either don't have a program or that are in the blue programs to participate in NOHAS each year. Again, they pay for the program, so they decide what works best for their community. And I didn't mention, but the gray ones currently don't offer a program for their residents. So we're always hoping to get everyone in the mix. Kristen mentioned that I'm in charge, and we're working on the materials management plan, which maybe some of you have heard of, a big process to try and set some goals and objectives and inventory what kind of capacity we have in the county for recycling, for composting, for just diversion from landfills. So as part of that process, which is supposed to be, will probably take the next couple of years, hopefully we can provide something that's more consistent, that's accessible for everyone. So we'll stay tuned on that. So again, this is the same interlocal agreement we've been using for several years. And we're just asking for your approval of the agreement.
Thank you.
Happy to entertain any questions.
Great. Let me just refresh, hit my details button. I don't see any digital hands. Mr. Wyford?
I saw in the one photo that you had medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you see less medicine than I see all police departments and different groups are accepting medicine, or is it constant?
I don't think it's less, because I think more people are aware and trying to not flush them down anymore than they used to be. So that's one of the situations where I think it's great to have multiple options for people, whatever works best for them. So we do get a lot. We don't accept any of the controlled substances though. So those, if anybody has any of those, they have to go to through the Sheriff's Office Operation Medicine Cabinet.
You give notice when they come, and say you give them the options and tell them, hey, you've got some stuff that's got a,
We have our brochure, so we'll give them that. We hand out my cards, and we filter a lot of calls in the office from
I mean,
trying
when
to
the
help.
people are in line and then, they've got a trunk full of stuff, pain and, you send them to the other places that you say that we can't take that, you've got to go to the Sheriff's Department.
Oh, yes, if they have things that we can't take, we do try to send them off, yes, for sure.
Do you tell them about the other dates, when some lines get long?
Sometimes we do. We usually have our brochures on hand so we can hand them out. I do have to say, over time, I feel the process has gotten a little more efficient, and we stopped doing paper registration forms for everyone. Now we do an online system, so it really speeds it up. So knock on wood, it hasn't been like years and years ago. We had some hefty long waits, and people will still bring those up when they come to an event, even though it was 10 years ago. But I think it's gotten more efficient over time. So usually we're able to process everyone through and with minimal waits. Usually the first thing in the morning is the biggest wait, and then it's just kind of steady throughout the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I had a couple for you, and it was really a kind of focus on the PowerPoint there. So Commissioner Wyford indicated he saw batteries. When I did a zoom in, I was like, are those ballasts? Like people still, I guess we do still utilize ballasts in buildings and things like that. So that was interesting to me. The use of the Oxford Middle School on June 7th, is that have you typically done school property during the school year like that? Because I mean, technically, they're still in.
Yeah,
Does that,
that's the only one that we use during the school year. It's kind of a unique setup because they have a pretty big parking lot for a middle school. Like in high schools, you've got the students driving there, they're not going to allow that. And you don't wanna get in the way of the pickup, drop off, the buses and everything. So that's the only one that allows us to hold it there during the school year, but we've done that for many, many years and it's just the right setup, I think, for it to work.
awesome?
And they typically on the Saturdays that we're holding the events,
Oh, it's a
they don't
Saturday.
have other,
Okay, I missed that.
they don't have other events like sporting events or anything like that going on at the schools.
Perfect. My next final question is the communities. And I was over here giving Commissioner Whiteford a hard time because I saw a big old gray for his side of town. But then when I looked really close, I see Royal Oak Township is gray. I see Holly is gray. I just want to know, like, what, if anything, we can do as commissioners to encourage those communities to participate with one. Like, is there a financial implication? Because I know Royal Oak Township, as they say on the street, ain't got it. So I'm just curious, what, are the implications to someone joining up?
Yeah, it really is the cost. And Royal Oak Township is in that, because it's small, it's right there with Sacra. So I'm assuming most of them have Royal Oak addresses, so I don't know that they don't end up going to Sacra, even though they're not technically a member community of that.
Okay.
Holly, the Hollies, we've not ever had them participate. Again, we invite them every year, but it is a significant cost to the community. So I think maybe, we always encourage residents who may come to the events, but their community doesn't participate. Talk to your elected officials, let them know that this is important to you and you would like to see this service in the community. So
Okay, wonderful.
all of us helping together, maybe.
Absolutely. And I said last question, this is the last question for me. Makeup, is makeup considered something that can easily be tossed in the regular trash?
I think our vendor always says if you're in doubt, you could bring it.
Okay.
I haven't had a lot of questions about makeup, maybe not the liquid makeup.
We can certainly
We- yeah,
look
we
into
can
it
ask.
Yeah,
and
just curious.
get back.
All right.
We pester our
Yeah.
vendor with questions.
Yeah.
Do we take,
I'm just curious.
That's a
Yeah.
new one for us, so we
Yeah.
can certainly
Yeah.
look into that.
Because, when you're cleaning out grandma's house, you come across all kind of lipstick from Revlon circa 1977. All right, well, that's all I have. And, oh, yes, Whitney.
I'm sorry, we also included our year-end report from 2024. I wasn't gonna go through that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just so you know, that's there, that's on our website, so, and feel free to reach out if there are any additional questions.
Thank you.
We handed
Commissioner-
out the brochures and the sponsorship form, so if you know of any businesses that may be interested in sponsoring the program, we'd be happy to discuss that with them and the different sponsor levels that we have for the program. To help offset the cost for the communities.
Thank you. Commissioner Markham?
Yeah, just one question generated by what you said. So if somebody comes to an event, but they don't really live in, like, say they live in Holly, but they come with stuff, do you take the stuff?
It's $135 for residents
The
who are
resident
not
to
in
do
the
that.
member communities, yes. So we will,
Mhm.
we do our best to educate them, like, okay, your community does this separately. Again, you could take your medications here, you can, whatever we can offer, we do that. That's one of the worst parts of the day, quite honestly, when someone shows up that doesn't know that they're not a resident of one of the events. So that's something that the online registration system has helped too, because we do geocode the addresses as much as we can prior to the event, so we can reach out to those residents and say, typically you're not in, or you're in a $20 community, you're, just to try to head that off before it happens.
Yeah, it's such an important thing for us to do going forward that, I appreciate everything we're doing and I realize it's really complicated, but we are a county that has 4 different ways that people do this, plus people who don't recycle because their community doesn't support it. So our long-term goal, I think, needs to be standardization and education, so everybody's in and it's not a barrier. You know, if I showed up with I've spent 4 days figuring out all the crap in my house and I get there and you tell me, oh, it's gonna be an extra $135, that's terrible. You know, we shouldn't be doing that to residents, so.
Again, we do our best to notify them ahead of time and let them know of alternative options. But we'll be back later on the agenda to talk about materials management, and hopefully that process will help address some of the questions that you have about standardizing
Cool,
those
thank you.
processes.
Yeah, good point. Commissioner Wyford?
Thanks. You've said something about $20 community or $130, is it always $135 if they're not a member, or are there some?
For this year it is, yes. So each of the communities decides if they will cover the full cost for their residents to participate. So we have several of them who cover the entire cost. Some require that their residents pay $15 towards the cost, $20 towards the cost, or $30. So those individual communities decide what works. Some of them say, again, that they want to, but it's an expensive cost, so I think they base that on what they can do.
Sponsorships help and.
Yes, so if we could get some sponsorships, that would help, and
Yeah.
for sure. And wanted to say too, I don't think I mentioned this, but the communities, the member communities send people to help us at the events. So that's part of the agreement. So they send a staff person or an elected official or just someone who is active within their community that comes and helps out at the event. So that's always good. Get to know those people.
Yes.
Thank you.
All set, all right. And no indications that Commissioner Johnson has a question, so we will go ahead and prompt the vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
So much for that. All right, next item is item 10, Facilities Management Department recommendations. One item under here, which is Building Safety Dispatch Renovations Project. And this would be a recommendation to the board. If I can get a motion to recommend. Thank you, Commissioner Wyford, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Good morning, Ms. D.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Steve Rates from Capital Planning and Design, which is a division within Facilities Management. So today I'm bringing forward a project that was planned for in the 2025 CIP program. This project is the Building Safety Renovation Project. So let me start by going over some general scope, and then I can talk about the two specific areas that this project will address. So the project is to improve two areas within the Public Works building. So we're looking at removing existing millwork and removing the existing furniture. So with this, the millwork removal and the furniture removal will also address the electrical that is feeding this current equipment that we're removing. Will refeed the electrical so it can accommodate the new furniture. The solution after we remove the existing millwork and the outdated furniture is provide a furniture only solution to replace these items. The furniture itself will be systems office furniture, so it'll be very flexible. It'll be able to move with building safety if they choose to move or if they choose to stay in that location. There will be some IT cabling modifications too. We'll remove it from the existing millwork and furniture and be able to refeed that so it can serve the new furniture. Finishes, we'll have some wall patching, so we'll look to paint those walls that we're disturbing with the removal. Also carpeting, we'll be able to remove the carpeting in the areas as well. And in one specific area, the dispatch center area will be able to provide static dissipating carpet. So this general scope impacts two very specific areas. One is the badging station area for building safety, and the other area is for the dispatch call center area for building safety. So that's the general scope. Now, if we look at the badging station area, there's some specifics with that. Currently, that furniture is at a very high height. So the new furniture will bring the height of the transaction station lower so that it will be ADA accessible and compliant. The badging station, everybody that works at the county campus and then our remote facilities, they visit that, they get their badge, they get their picture taken. All our vendors as well visit that area too, so it'll be good to have that as ADA accessible. The picture taking location is at a little bit of a pinch point, so we'll improve that with the space planning and the new furniture accommodations as well. And then the maneuverability for the workers that sit at that badging station as well will be approved. These will be sit-to-stand desk stations, so there's that availability for those workers to be able to change their posture and be a little bit more ergonomically served by that furniture too. So the other area is the dispatch call center area. That current, I'd like to call it millwork for better terms, but back in the 80s, 90s, when you had the really large, deep CPU units, generated a lot of heat. What we currently see out there is big metal cabinets with large fans in there, accommodate those huge depth original CPU units. Those fans are running to dissipate the heat. So that's a lot of depth and space of those outdated cabinets that we'd like to remove. When we remove those outdated cabinets in that dispatch center area, it opens up floor area. So now we can have the ADA accessible turning radiuses in that area. Those desks that will replace those metal cabinets and the outdated counter associated with those metal cabinets will be also sit to stand. Those dispatchers are there for the whole duration of that work time. Their job is to look at those monitors, so it'll be good to have them able to stand up, sit down, get their body moving. AD accessibility will be accommodated for as well. Lockers will provide lockers for those dispatchers to be able to provide what they need for that whole duration of their work time, whether it's food, snacks, beverages, so that they can still do their function, but still have those amenities, those personal items close within reach. Pull-in power, those we have metal tubes. The electrical is going through the ceiling to those metal cabinets, so we'll clean all that up and get that up to code and to current ergonomic and AD accessibility standards. So appreciate your time. We do have a representative here from Building Safety, and if you have any questions for myself or for Ken Miller, we're here for your questions. And then the total for this project is a little over $96,000. And again, this was part of the CIP project program. So happy to bring this forward to you guys today and looking for a recommendation to move this forward.
Thank you, Ms. C. We have a couple commissioners in the queue, starting with Commissioner Miller and then followed by Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question is the ISCG Incorporated, is that the company out of Royal Oak?
Correct.
Okay, it took me a while when I was searching for them. I do like that they're women-owned and they're diverse staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Markham.
I don't have a question. I think that's left over from last time.
Okay,
So,
all good.
thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for that. And we look forward to taking a look at the upgrades when you get them set up. I think all of us can relate to having to take our ID photo, moving around to get to that other side of the room. If someone had mobility concerns, that would be a challenge. And then also the safety of our staff to not have, if something were to happen, they would have to run around the counter and then, seek safety. So very glad that we're keeping staff security and safety at the forefront. So with nothing else, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on item 10A, Building Safety Dispatch Renovations Project.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Item 11, Transit Ad Hoc Committee recommendations, has 2 items under there. We will start with a motion to recommend to the Board Economic Development, Oakland County Transit Division Access to Transit Award recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Miller, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Eli, if you like, come on over. Make yourself comfortable, you got a couple
I'm gonna
items.
go to the other side now, just in case we gotta go through the slides.
Yeah. All right, so transit award recommendations. The floor is yours. Good morning again,
Good morning.
Kristen.
So the staff presented to the Transit Committee recommendation for moving forward with, at the recommendation to the committee was 8 projects that came in under our first time access to transit grant program. The exciting part about this process was with the millage, we've been supporting transit service, but we understand the difficulty and complexity that people have getting to the actual service itself. And so we went to the Transit Committee last summer, received authorization to put a grant program of up to $2 million of project awards for the purpose of enhancing access to transit. We received a wide array of project applications. Some were for enhanced shelters, some were for sidewalks. Another one was for what's called a road diet, narrowing down the road, making it safer for people to walk. And the walking environment is critically important for transit access because most folks either walk or roll, meaning a wheelchair or bicycle, to access transit service. So it was really pleasing to see a wide array of projects spread throughout the county. We do have a PowerPoint if it is of interest to the committee. We can walk through the individual projects. But at this point, what I'd like to focus on is the 10 projects that came in were reviewed by a interdisciplinary team of county staff, transit planning. We had local transit operators and road agencies all review the applications that came in. We had recommended 8 to the committee. The committee accepted the recommendations for 6 of the 8, totaling $777,000. And that's the formal request today to move that forward to the board for approval and authorization for the chair to enter interlocal agreements to move those forward. There were 2 projects that the board deliberated on and postponed. So we're going to continue, we as staff, to work with the committee to decide whether those projects merit being brought forward or whether we're going to notify the communities that their projects were not recommended for funding. And there were 2 that interesting projects but not related to transit, and I've notified those communities their applications had not been accepted, and they weren't happy to hear that, but they understood the basis. So that's the thumbnail sketch. We do have slides if it's of interest to the committee, but the general gist of it is we've got 6 projects moving forward, totaling a request for $777,500, and would look for your approval.
Thank you. Alrighty, let's start with Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
This funding, does it fall under the county's purchasing policy, for responsible contracting and all that, or does it go directly to the community and they decide who the contractor is and what the requirements are for their bids?
So the funds come from the county transit millage, and the interlocal agreement identifies the stipulations, but it is procurement based at the local level.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Commissioner Taylor.
Yes. Thank you. I noticed on here about the 9 Mile Bridge in the city of Southfield. That area I'm very familiar with. They requested 125, but was only awarded 100. I was just curious. I saw on here what I thought was the reason, but I'm curious to understand why. Because that area, the bridge there. It's utilized a lot by, you could see the path where kids walk, and it's so close to the road on 9 Mile.
Right.
So I don't know why it wouldn't have gotten the whole 125,000, so I'm trying to understand.
I can answer that for you. So they applied for preliminary engineering, which is the design and really putting the construction drawings together.
Mhm.
And then that would go through the bid process to get it to construction. And so preliminary engineering can take onwards of almost a year to 18 months to complete. The second piece of that was construction engineering. And so that's gonna be all your project oversight. You'll have an inspector on site looking at all the materials and making sure that the contractor's building it to plan. They're gonna be doing testing and materials testing as well. So it's almost two separate pieces of the project, and we didn't wanna hold the funds for the construction engineering for a couple of years while they were working on their design plan and getting it to the point of construction. So we encourage them to reapply in future years if the program is offered again for the construction engineering piece.
Thank you very much, because I know it's very much needed.
Most definitely, so that we funded the preliminary engineering, which will get them to the construction phase.
Okay.
And that's a tough phase to fund. Not a lot of people wanna fund the preliminary engineering.
Okay.
But there are, I will say, the Transportation Alternatives Program that's offered through SEMCOG and MDOT. They are now allowing construction engineering to be funded. So that was the other piece that was also a new addition this year for TAP funding.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was gonna say, because that's new to me, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Let me get back to the screen. Go ahead, Commissioner Whiteford.
And then this is kind of a pilot program, and we're hoping once the word gets out on these completions and good things that other communities say, hey, we could do something like that and encourage some more. So then you can bring this, hopefully do this again if there's a request.
100%. And again, the idea of once the word is out that these projects are funded and we can then have illustrations of the types of things that are being done, hopefully that will prime the pump for future applications. Of course, it'll be contingent upon us coming back to the board for a renewal of the program for next year or to initiate a 2025 version of the Access to Transit program.
Right now, we don't have anything to show, right? So we're hoping all these communities are gonna give us some, storyboards that we can do.
Awesome. Ms. Miller, did you have anything further? I see your name there. Maybe it's linger from the last time.
Yeah.
Commissioner Markham?
Thank you. So since it's a pilot program and I like these projects, they all kind of fit the category of supporting transit. When we review the TAP projects at SEMCOG, every 4 months, we have a process by which staff has vetted them and then they've ranked them according to, a whole rubric of elements and bring it before the committee that then votes on whether we're gonna award that or not. Do we anticipate this process to have something like that, or will this always stay embedded in the transit group or?
So my perspective as staff is being funded out of the transit millage, we would bring it through the transit committee. Given that we had received authorization for 2 million and less than that is going forward, we do have what I'll describe as a small staff complement. So the idea of an ongoing process would be burdensome on the administrative team, the transit team to manage it. So what I would expect is that we would come back next year. Now, we're always available to have consultation, technical conversation with local governments that might be thinking about it. But I don't, unlike the TAP program, which is millions of dollars that SEMCOG coordinates with MDOT and the local applications, this is a little more straightforward, and that hopefully the once a year cadence will work for both the county and the local government units. We'll learn as we go forward.
Yeah, and learn is the right word, because that's what I'm thinking about, is educating. If we had $2 million to spend and we didn't get enough requests, I looked at the number of communities and which communities it was. There's, 7 or 8 communities there. I know of a couple of communities could use a lot more bus stop shelters and that sort of thing. So how are we gonna educate the bigger communities or the other communities that didn't take advantage of this time? Do they even know?
And so what I can share with the committee is that we as staff sent out email blasts to various officials within each of the communities. We received some inquiries where they did not apply at this time, but that we will redouble our effort. Hopefully we'll have good examples to illustrate, as well as to reach out to make sure we're talking with the right folks. I know within economic development as a department, we have historically had, I'll say somewhat regular, but there are quarterly, semi-annual meetings with CVT representatives. We had a conversation earlier this week in a manager's meeting of trying to start that process over. So this will clearly be an input from the transit program to talk to the CVTs, assuming that we're gonna move forward with it and that we receive your approval for a 2025 program. We need to get the education and the good word out. A lot of the transit, and I'm gonna say things that I've heard, which is, hey, we knew this was new, it's gonna take some years in order to get it up and running, to get things going right. I think this fits in that category. Folks received it, weren't sure, may not have been sure, didn't feel the interest. I'm excited about next year because as a member of our regional transit community, SMART itself is in the process of developing and circulating a new bus stop design guide that they're gonna make available for all 3 of the counties. And we're gonna continue to use that as a basis to say, hey, here's some great new ideas, new design techniques that SMART's looking at. What's in your community? How can we help you to install the proper transit elements within your community? I'm hoping that, again, continues to build a buzz and an awareness that there are things that folks can do, not just us, the county, but the local government partners. And, I'm gonna say this, it kind of pains me because I hear it and I never like hearing it, but our transit operators' primary focus is on delivering the service itself, fueling the vehicles, cleaning the vehicles, hiring drivers. There's so many attributes that they focus on that some of this access to transit and why we stepped in as the county is it's outside of what their bandwidth that they have to support. I know as a transit professional that that's equally important. It's not as important as the bus being there clean and on time, but if you can't get to it, it's not gonna serve you at all. So that's where the idea came from, and we'll continue to work with you, local governments, to educate, inform, and hopefully invest and improve the environment.
Thank you. Is there a match required?
Yes. There's a match of 20% for the projects, with the exception of there was an opportunity for communities in a difficult financial position that there was a opportunity for a 100% grant.
I like that we're doing this. I'm glad to see SMART has decided to move a bus stop down right into 12 Oaks Mall, which we need. And they've been really resistant to, and the mall's been resistant to for a long time, and they cracked that nut, and I'm really happy about that. So, because that's where a lot of these folks riding the SMART buses to Novi are going, is to 12 Oaks Mall. And yeah, it's good. So keep doing what you're doing, prioritizing the bus stops and helping us get there as fast as we can. I like the program, I'm glad it's working, and I just want to see more. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Markham. Commissioner Johnson.
Chick-fil-A too.
Oh, thanks a bunch. Yeah, just inspired by Commissioner Markham's point. I mean, I love this program. I think that this is one of the best priorities that we have coming out of the transit millage, in addition to just providing service. And I think that one of my favorite parts, I don't know, favorite parts. I think one of the better parts of this first round of suggested awardees is, in addition to several great projects that we can fund. We've also said no to several projects too, because I think this first year is a really a year of definitions. If you ask me, I think I have a really liberal definition of what transit is. Transit is everything from, you know, a high-speed train and a subway to an elevator and a moving sidewalk. I think transit's everything in between. It's connecting people from point A to point B. What transit is not is some of the things that we're saying no to, or that the transit staff has said no to in these. It's road projects that are not explicitly transit related. It's not private property construction that's not explicitly transit related, like in the very last one. And it's not just like writ large carte blanche signage for municipalities. So I think that we've done a good job at level setting in this first year, and I thank Eli and company for doing that and picking a few good projects that are really exemplative of what we can do in Oakland County, and hopefully our other CVTs look at this as a blue sky opportunity and think pretty creatively about how they can actually connect people to transit. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I believe that is all for questions on this item, so we'll go ahead and prompt the vote. 11A, access to transit award recommendation.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries. That takes us to item B under 11, which is Economic Development Oakland County Transit Division Amendment 2025-1 with Suburban Mobility Authority for regional transportation for public transportation services. A motion is requested to recommend to the board. Commissioner Taylor moves, Commissioner Markham supports. And Eli and Kristen, go ahead and share with us any high level information for this item.
I appreciate that. This is a little out of sequence. You may recall last fall, we brought the 4 smaller operators amendments for service support in 2025 forward. We had some additional areas that we needed to work with and work through with SMART. And it just didn't fall in the schedule that allowed us to bring it forward before the calendar year, because our agreements with our transit service providers are annual contracts. The good news is we're still in February, it's early in the year, and there's been no disruption in any service as we continue to work through the detail with SMART staff. The key highlights are the $44.1 million provides the necessary financial support for SMART to continue to operate all of the routes that they're currently running, including the routes that have been recently expanded in the last year or so. So some of the committee members may say, well, this is a lot bigger than our last agreement. Why is that the case? Well, a couple of years back, we had what was called basic service and expanded service, and there were 2 different numbers that added together to get to the total award to SMART. Since all of what were defined as expanded services have been running, we folded those into the definition of basic service, and so there's a piece of the increase that's related to all of the service, which again, the extensions into Novi, up to Rochester, and out on the Highland Road corridor out to White Lake. Additionally, another high-level item is SMART is on its own continuing on in what they call the Smarter Mobility Program, which is their organizational look at what new services are necessary within their entire service area. And we're coordinating with them on their planning project, and that we were also including within this agreement, and I'll use the word, I guess I'll call it a condition, I don't want to say requirement, that they're working with us as we're doing our planning process for the areas that are served by our smaller authorities. So People's Express, WODA, NODA and OPC are working with the county staff and our consultant to come up with a strategy for the next 5 or 10 years of transit service within that part of the county. So we're coordinating the smarter planning with our planning, and that's a condition of this contract. Another aspect that's important to highlight for the committee is that as we came into the transit environment as a county, Each of these operators had a variety of technologies that they were using for dispatching and coordinating the service within their small areas. When you look through the contract with Smart, Smart is in the process of doing a procurement for a regional software for transit dispatch. And this has been a difficult challenge for the region. They had a false start at it a year or so ago. They've had to go through the process internally to stop what they had started, but they've reinitiated a process and they are actually collaborating with the smaller operators. The county staff ourselves has worked with them to create the specifications for this next wave of procurement. And I believe that they're going to have a document out within the next month or two to solicit proposals for new software. And again, we're in 2025, and that's a condition of this agreement. So we're seeing service, we're seeing planning, we're seeing technology. There's a lot. I'll stop there. Any questions?
Okay. Like the abrupt stop. Any additional questions? Yes, Gwen Markham from SimCog is here to ask questions.
I really don't have a lot of questions. You know where I live, out in the western hinterlands. So I say this to every transit provider every time I get the opportunity. One of these days, I would like to be able to pick up my phone and say, I want to go here by XYZ time, and it programs it for me. And I hope this software that Smart is, and regional, I like that word. I know we're not there today, but I think that, at least for me, that's the ultimate goal. If I go to Seattle, I can do that, you know? If I go to Cincinnati, I can do that. But here, I can't do that. And it's not like I'm out on a farm somewhere. I live in a big community with access to transit now. So that's just my plea. Keep pushing that. We really need to be able to communicate and connect these providers so that it does you'll get lots more riders as soon as we have something like that, right? So that's my only comment. I'll continue to say it every time you come before me, so.
Indeed, I appreciate that. As someone who loathes the idea of having to walk to the bus stop. I'm like, can I drive to the bus stop? And then immediately once deboarding the bus, get into my vehicle that I've already warmed from the app. So again, we're not gonna satisfy everyone, but I do know in parts of our state, particularly near 8 Mile, transit is important, but I'm like, I gotta meander through my neighborhood and get to a main street to get a ride. Just drive. But I'm fortunate enough to be in that position. So this is great. When I hear from people across the country, they are proud of our efforts in transit around here. And so I feel like it's kind of a thankless effort. You know, the transit committee, nobody's sending you thank you cards, but they do appreciate the access. So onward and upward, and you know, help out our little Novi, Western Oakland County folks get what they need. But all in all, I'll go ahead and have us prompt the vote because I don't think I see any other hands. This is item 11B, and this is a recommendation to the board.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Progress.
That motion carries. Great job, Eli. Keep up the good work.
Love the progress.
We are on to item 12 on our agenda, which is Materials Management Planning Committee recommendations. And I'll entertain a recommendation to the board for economic development grant application with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for the Materials Management Planning Grant.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Whiteford. Whitney and Kristen, thank you for being here. What do you got for us?
Thank you. Yes, we're back again. So you've probably seen us a few times over the last 18 months or so regarding the materials management plan. This is a requirement from the state that each county across the state prepares a materials management plan. So we've been working approximately for the last year on a lot of the administrative tasks, just to get to the point where we are today. So late last year, EGLE, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy from the state, announced the grant process to fund the preparation of the plans for materials management. Whitney, I don't know if you wanna mention anything else about
Yeah,
the
just
details?
we had been waiting, we knew that this money was going to be allocated. It's a formula grant, not competitive. So as part of the grant application, which came out, we have to submit our work program, which you may recall last fall, October-ish, I believe, November. The Board of Commissioners did approve our work program. So when the grant application came out, they only wanted it for the first year. So basically what you're seeing is just kind of the first year of what we think we will be doing. But it's taken directly from the entire work program that we have prepared for the process. So I don't know, we are requesting $320,000 of our allotment this year. That's what we are estimating that we will spend in the first year, which is the guidance from EGLE that we've received is you should put in for the first year what you think you will spend in the first year, so that's what we're trying to do. We did submit or put out an RFP, so we're in the process of evaluating the responses right now, and we'll be doing interviews and so again, this is to apply for the grant.
And this has gone through executive review, and it's also gone through the Materials Management Planning Committee, and they've approved it to this committee.
Wonderful. Any questions? I have more of a internal staff question about, and it may have been addressed and I kind of overlooked it, but like Robert Hoffman sponsors this?
The chair of the committee.
Oh, for that, okay, thank you, helpful. All right. Seeing no indication of any questions on this, we can go ahead and prompt the vote. Well, that's prompting. You mentioned, I think it was you, Kristen, about the formula, or it may have been Whitney, not being competitive, or a formula grant is not a competitive grant? Okay, I just wanna make sure I heard that correctly. That's correct. Yep.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That motion carries. And of course, we can chat about the differences in that. I'm just a new term that I'd like to learn a little more about. But other than that, your item has passed to go to the board. And so stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're up again.
Yeah, you are. 12B is a recommendation to the board for economic development, City of Fenton request to be excluded from the Oakland County Materials Management Plan. A motion to give Fenton what they want. Commissioner Taylor moves, Commissioner Markham supports. This is a recommendation to the board. So what's Fenton giving us to exclude them for?
So this is written into the law that a county that's, that a community that's in more than one county can opt to just be included in one county's materials management plan. You may recall, we had the same situation with Northville last fall, so they're going with the Wayne County plan. Fenton, again, it's just a little neighborhood of Fenton that's actually in Oakland County, so they are opting to just participate in the Genesee County plan.
Okay.
But it requires a resolution from each of the county board of commissioners to allow for this to happen.
And where's Fenton?
Genesee County.
Yeah, I thought it was north.
Up 23.
But they're opting to
But there's a
work with
tiny-
Wayne?
Is it in road, like in the road?
They're in Genesee.
Okay. I thought I heard you say they opted to something with Wayne. Okay, that
Oh,
makes
I'm sorry, that was
Northville
Northville.
went to Wayne.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Whiteford.
A lot in the very beginning of this, when this first started and we started implementing the state law, that's when we were getting notices of communities that saying they're going with Wayne or they're going with, So are they late in the game on this? No?
Well, not really, I think we just need it when we start the really
Okay.
planning and what the consultant type work does. And then it's a requirement that we have to include when we submit our plan to Eagle, which is way down the road.
When this first came through a year ago, then there was the notices. Every community did decide whether they're doing their own or joining with.
Right.
And so we saw a slew of them.
Yep, that's
The
a
counties,
different
yeah.
phase of the
Yep.
administrative process. This one is because they're in two counties. And so it's a separate portion, a separate provision within the Public Act that we have to comply with. So there's many administrative tasks.
Commissioner Miller?
I didn't-
Oh, no? It's just, it keeps taking me back to hazmat. I don't know what that is. All right, then seeing nothing further, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on item 12B.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Continue to keep up the good work. That takes us to item 13 on our agenda, which is public comment, and this is a max of 3 minutes per speaker on any topic. Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to address this committee? Seeing no one moving towards the front, I will go ahead and close our second public comment. Today, we do have some announcements. Our staff is sharpening the saw and, yeah, that's the analogy I want to use. And so, week of 224 reminders, please be reminded that there's the second annual Thrive Oakland County Commissioners Reception on Thursday, March 6th, which is also our headshot and group photo day.
I know.
Yeah. The Oakland Thrive Riker Building at 35 West Huron Street, second floor Pontiac, where we went last year. And so please do try to attend. They would like you to RSVP by Friday, February 28th. And I guess we RSVP through Michael Andrews. Headshots 4 to 6. Many of you have probably already arranged for your time slot. Business attire requested, no hoodies, no Lions apparel. And please arrive camera ready.
Tigers.
William.
I'm always ready. Wanna take a picture right now? Let's do it.
All right, so it's in your inbox, but there's individual headshots. There's a sign up via the link below, which you can grab if you don't have it already. And the group photo will take place immediately before the board meeting. Finally, State of Oakland County 2025 address at the Berman Center for Performing Arts in West Bloomfield. That's March 19th, 7 to 10. Joanne might have already gotten your RSVP for that, but they do want your RSVP by Friday, March 6th. And with that, I don't see any other business to come before this committee, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.